another rundown from down under. My name is Buddy Pulley, joined by not Seth Dolby this week. I got my good buddy Jeremy Taylor.
That's right.
Yep, who, if you haven't noticed by the shirt, works at Kaulig Racing. Give me your name and occupation, sir. Even though I already told
I
him.
am Jeremy Taylor. I fabricate metal, spot, additional corner spotter for a lot of road courses, show car crew chief, uh, special projects guy, toolbox builder guy. I wear a lot of hats. But yeah, I work mostly with the Xfinity cars. Every single Xfinity car that goes to the racetrack every weekend, I have my hands on them. Decals, like I'll do all kinds of little things. I think I sent you pictures the other day of like nose decals that I did on the
Yeah.
97. So yeah, if you see the headlights, taillights and stuff on all of the cars this weekend at Kansas, I did all of those. So yeah.
You didn't put them on backwards.
Stuff like I jack of all trades, master of none. So
Gotcha.
that's me. I'm that guy.
Well, and if you guys didn't know this, which you guys all should go back and watch it, Jeremy and I actually did a 3-hour long podcast where Jeremy told basically his entire life story. It was
part of it, yeah.
It was one of the coolest things that we have on the YouTube channel. So if you guys haven't gone back and watched it, I'll put a little card and you guys can click on it and go watch both parts of that. But we brought you back today for obvious reasons. You work at
my bosses allowed me to, by the way.
Yes.
Because they saw it. They saw the last one. I didn't tell them, but they found it. And I asked permission and they said, absolutely, go ahead. Same rules as last time, just don't talk crap. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't do that anyway. So yeah, here we are.
We saved the crap talking for the other podcasts on the channel.
That's the after dark.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the episode. Yeah.
See, yeah, you're learning. Yes. You're a veteran of the channel now.
Hey, I used to do podcasts too, buddy. I know what the after dark stuff is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, I brought you on here, one, to talk about Bristol, because that just happened, and we obviously got to give everybody an update on Shane and his run at Bristol. 2, it's playoff time, so we got to figure out how we're gonna get 2 cars to the Final Four, and then 3. Before that, we talk about that, we're going to talk about Shane's season so far and how Kaulig has felt about his season, and then we'll talk about their newest employee, Ty Norris, a little bit later.
Yeah.
Bristol. This is fun. Yeah, let's start with Bristol. Shane finished 18th. AJ finished 10th, right?
Yeah, 9th or 10th. I think it was 10th. I know it was top 10. But
yeah. Solid day for
rough night, but yeah.
Solid top 10. I mean, it could have been worse for AJ. Those Bristol races get there at the end.
Shane at the beginning too.
Yeah.
Or then again, if you mess up in the beginning, get screwed up, you come back and win the race.
Yeah,
like Double did. So
which AJ's found the way to master wrecking and winning like at the same time that one time.
Yeah, Nashville last year we did that. Of course, the amount of side force that we probably gained from having a dished out right rear quarter panel helped a lot with that win at Nashville last year.
Well, hell, I was talking about when him and Cindric wrecked coming to the flag.
Oh yeah, in 21. Yeah,
I totally forgot about Nashville.
Yeah. I wish I could say that car still exists, but the body panels do. That car got crushed. But the body panels we still have all those body panels that came off that car. Just like all the body panels off of our Roval Win car, we have all that. And actually the chassis for the Roval Win car is still there. It actually got killed earlier this year in a wreck. But it's going to be a show car here very soon. So I'm going to turn it into a show car. But yeah, man, it was a good time. I was there. I walked into the grandstands right before Shane went out for qualifying.
Yeah.
And I took a picture of Chris Rice and sent it to him. And he told me that he had bad posture in the picture. And I said that I said, it's all the weight on your shoulders, is what it is. And then he just kind of turned around and was looking, and I just, started waving at him.
Yeah.
But Yeah, Shane, he loved the racetrack, which I mean, how can you not? Bristol Motor Speedway is I mean, I grew up going there. I'm 41 years old, so I my first race there was the spring of '93, so I've gotten to see it evolve
Oh wow.
and
Yeah.
grow. I mean, whenever I went there the first time, it didn't have any grandstands in the corners. You had front stretch,
Oh
back stretch,
wow.
and they were just kind of starting to expand,
Mhm.
the corners then, and got to see them add, all of the boxes and all the stuff that now surround the entire facility, and it's one of those places that um, you kind of have to take it all in whenever you walk
Mhm.
into the stadium of that racetrack, and the breadth of that place and the magnitude of it. Like it's incredible to see in person, and I would imagine that it's deeply intimidating for somebody like Shane that's never
Yeah.
seen a facility like that in his life. But qualifying was, could have been better, but I mean, you got to think the guy only had 20 minutes of practice or so to go out there and try to learn that place. And there's so many little subtle nuances to that racetrack that it's a really tough one to grasp for a lot of people, even guys that have been going there for years. So for him to come away with a top 20, 17th or 18th, I think you said there,
Yeah.
uh, for him to come away with that, and the only marks on his car was whenever he and Dale Jr. doored each other after the race.
Yeah.
Uh, that's pretty impressive. I think he got a little bit of the wall out of one of the corners. I
Mhm.
saw it yesterday morning whenever we were tearing the car down that he had a little mark on the right rear quarter panel. So I mean, gosh, I've seen other races uh, where his car looked way, way worse.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Darlington Spring comes
yeah,
to mind.
Darlington, yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of them. Well, I mean, even the road course races he won, they looked kind of bad. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, he loved the racetrack, and how can you not? I mean, that place is incredible. But he came away, probably learning a little bit about what it takes to be fast, and hopefully going forward, whenever he gets into a cup car next year, he'll be able to grasp it a little bit better. But I still hope that NASCAR gets us more practice at some of these places, especially for rookies. But I know he's
Yeah.
not a rookie, but yeah, no, overall it was a good night for him.
Yeah, see, I just want to comment on the Bristol thing. Like
Sure.
there is not many places where when I told people I was going to my first Bristol, I went to the Bristol
Mm.
All-Star race. That was my first Bristol race.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. With the
So
underglow in the cars. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that was quite the night.
Yeah, yeah,
I had a buddy of mine, he was like, "You're going to Bristol?" He's like, "When you walk up, just take it in." And
yeah,
I was like, "Look, I've been to a
yeah.
lot of racetracks. We'll see." I walked in, I was like, "Holy crap."
Holy, yeah.
Yeah.
I say the same thing to every
Yeah.
new person that goes to Bristol. I'm like, listen, like, you need to take a moment whenever you walk out into the stadium and just look, because it is unlike anything you'll ever see. It's truly incredible.
It is so I got to get that was my first time as a fan, and then I actually back when we were doing some things with the garage guys, we
Mhm.
actually got to we were working and we got to
Sure.
be in the infield for the
Yeah.
2022 Bristol night race. Funny enough, we actually placed a what we called it was a bit we were doing a tangible NFT. We placed one in
Ah,
Justin Haley's 31 car that night.
nice,
And then Chris Rice
nice.
signed Garage Guys Chase's chest. So that was a fun night
Oh,
with your boys
little
over at
Chase
Kaulig.
Holden. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But anyway, I just remember standing on the grid for that race. We were sitting next to Ricky Stenhouse, just watching the flyover, watching just all the pageant. It is
Mm,
one of the few that and like the Daytona 500 this year, which was my first
yeah,
500. I'm
absolutely.
one of the few times, well, first times in a while. I'm not gonna say few times where I'm just like, this is a big deal. Like
Mhm.
you felt it, and that's
Yeah,
hopefully we can portray it for you folks down under how big of a deal this is. And let us know
yeah,
what's that in Australia and New Zealand. Like I would love to know
yeah.
that. Yeah, I would imagine
Uh,
Bathurst or
Bathurst, yeah, is probably the equivalent, but it's not like Bristol, where
mm,
I mean, gosh,
it's so intimate.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing is to, like, stand about 100 feet past the start finish line.
Yeah.
Stand right there. That is the fastest
Yeah.
place on the racetrack that you're gonna see, and just how fast they go by.
Yeah.
Um, Track record around that place, I can't remember what the
It's like a
exact
14-9,
nu
14-8 or
it's like
something.
14-2,
Oh
14-1,
yeah.
around in there. Denny Hamlin is a track record holder, but the average speed is 129.99, I think, or it's 130.
Yeah.
It's like right at 130 miles an hour, which around a half mile, 0.533 mile racetrack, and just I mean, just that much over 14 seconds is insane.
Yeah.
You're 100 and upward, upper end 150 whenever you back off the throttle into the corner, and you're only dropping down 110.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Low 110s, in the middle of the corner, and then turn around going right back the other direction. You spend more time in the corners there than you do on straightaways.
And
Um, Straightaways are just enough to breathe because you're
yeah.
taking a G load down in the corner, and uh, Dover and Bristol, I would say, is probably higher, just because it's just sustained G's
Mhm.
through the corner. I mean, it's 3G plus, probably 3.5 Gs in the
Jeez.
corner.
Good lord.
For of a 14-second lap, I'd say you have that sustained 3.5 Gs for probably 8 seconds of that lap, 8 to 9 seconds of that lap. So
Yeah.
crazy. And you're doing that 1,000 times.
That is, dude, it's like imagine
Yeah.
that like you're SVG and you have only run road courses until this year and you get 20
Mhm.
minutes of practice and go out and
Yeah.
do this crap that's just insane.
Yeah.
Like I mean,
Yeah.
go out there, try to breathe and then
Mhm.
also try to drive this car around the cereal bowl real quick.
And then also run the top lane and try to use as little brake as you can.
Yeah.
Let it roll. Like that's a
Mhm.
tall
That is
that's a
yeah.
tall task. Like that's oh man. I had the opportunity to drive the old Bristol long time ago.
Mhm.
And that was and take a ride along around the racetrack as well. And holy crap, that place is just insane.
Yeah.
Uh, love that place. Love
One
it.
thing you mentioned, he got a couple donuts from Dale Jr. That was
Yeah,
kind of cool, a little passing of the torch, if you will,
sure.
from
Yeah.
one 88 to another. So that was pretty dope.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's going to have the 88 next year, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. So obviously top 20 run. I would classify this as a very quintessential Shane Van Gisbergen day. It's first time
sure.
here. He comes out,
Mhm,
he runs mid 20s early in the race, and then by the end of the race, he's in a good top 10 or top 15, top 20 spot.
mhm.
Much like he's done a lot of this year. Uh, what what were like the honest expectations when you guys brought Shane in to run a full season of Xfinity, and then where where are those expectations now? I guess
I can't really speak to that 100% because I'm not Chris
yeah,
Rice.
obviously.
I'm not Lenny.
Where were
But
your expectations then?
my expectations, um, I agree with what Chris Rice has said. He's like, I don't want to race against him, so we
Mhm.
had to figure out how in the world to get him in with us.
Yeah,
And I'm glad that we were able to strike a deal with Justin Marks and the guys at Trackhouse to bring him in, which we already had kind of a deal somewhat in place with those guys last year. We had
yeah,
Ross, Daniel, and Justin Marks drive our cars last year in the 10
yeah,
car. Whenever we had that as like an all-star car, so we had somewhat of a thing in place, but we really, developed that partnership to bring him in and do that. And I think the biggest thing was just try to get him as much experience on an oval track as we can. We know that
yeah,
he's going to be pretty good at road courses. We know that, but we already had AJ. That's phenomenal on road courses, as we all know, and to bring him in, to bring Shane in and have both of those guys be two of the best road course racers in the world.
yeah,
Um, for AJ to take him kind of under his wing and kind of help him along with this whole oval track thing that he's going to have to get good at. Um, I think the biggest thing is just completing all the laps.
Yeah.
For anybody new that's coming in, like, you're not going to get any experience by crashing out on lap 1
Yeah.
and being really aggressive and showing people it's like, "Oh, I can drive. I can do this," you know? I think the way he's went about it has been very methodical, very safe, but also, being aggressive when he can, when it comes to road courses and such. But I honestly, I could not be happier. But as far, like I said, as far as expectations, um, I think he's met every expectations I had.
Yeah.
Um, I was really excited about him coming in and doing this thing with us. But I really wanted him to just complete all the laps, and that's what he's
Yeah.
done. Like, he's
Yeah.
done a great job of that. I don't know what the exact stats are, but I mean, more often than not, he is on the lead lap.
Yeah.
He's top 20. And I think that had he not won those 3 road course races, I still think he would be in the playoffs just based on points.
Yeah.
You look at Josh Williams. Josh Williams has had to get used to kind of driving our style of car,
Yeah.
our setups and such, and he's gotten better and better and and actually he claims that he's not a road course racer, but some of his best finishes this
Yeah.
year have been on road courses following Shane in practice, following Shane during qualifying, and he's run really well, and he's 17th in points, which is the highest that he's ever been in points. So that's good.
Shout out to him.
Um, what's that?
Shout out to him. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to him. Another great dude. But like I said, I think if he didn't win those 3 races, I still think he would be right up there in the top 12 in points, and amongst the guys that have already won the races and such. So um, again, uh, completing all the laps that you can is the best thing
Yeah.
you can do, and he's done that. And he's kind of had this style of playing it safe in the first couple stages, and then going after it in the second stage, and that's whenever he's getting into the top 20 and doing that. So I think here over the next 7 races that we have, he's going back to 5 racetracks that he's been to before. Um, and I think that you're going to see him be a little bit more aggressive and have a little bit more confidence in what he's driving, what his limits are, what his breaking points are, what his lift points are, all these things that go in to this whole deal. And I think he's going to impress some people. I think we are our meeting today is we're going to come out and be strong and be aggressive and show people that it wasn't a fluke that we got in there,
Yeah.
because a lot of people I think have written us off this year. Um, uh, because we haven't been as strong as we have in the past, but we know why, and we've been working on that, and um, it's because we've been trying a whole lot of things, to try to get ahead of the curve and try to get ahead of everybody else in gaining speed. So I think this weekend in Kansas, we're gonna show people that we came to play.
Awesome. I hope so. I believe it. You guys, it seems like as a whole, you guys have gotten quicker here in the
Mhm.
last handful of weeks too. I mean, I guess for me,
Well, since
yeah,
Nashville, we've been the fastest. Other than and this is a stat that Chris has told us about.
yeah,
Even our stat guys will say it that since Nashville, I think since middle of summer, beginning of summer, other than the '88 winning at Watkins Glen,
mhm.
we've been the fastest Chevy team.
Wow. I
So
did,
we've been the fastest Chevy team overall. So
and that's saying
that's
something too.
that's saying
Yeah,
quite a bit.
yeah. I think for me, I'll just touch on this just because we've harped on it every week and we've done the show. But I mean, this is obviously a turning point in the season going into the playoffs. Seth and I said at the beginning of the year we weren't sure how Shane. We figured Shane would win at least one or two of these road course races, but
Mhm.
we weren't sure. We figured the Xfinity car would suit his driving style just because he's one of those guys. I was thinking about this earlier. There's a lot of guys you look at, not to get into this whole debate. You look at Max Verstappen, he's a Formula One driver. You look
Mhm.
at a guy like Shane Van Gisbergen, or if you really want to make that comparison, Kyle Larson, they're not
Mhm.
just NASCAR drivers or supercar drivers, they're race car drivers.
Sure.
Mario Andretti was a race car driver. He wasn't an
Mhm.
Indy car driver, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was he has, at least for me, exceeded my expectations because I thought there would be a lot more torn up race cars at the
Mhm.
beginning of the year, but I mean, he has just been he's I'm just impressed at how many of the laps he's completed. Outside
Mhm.
of super speedways, I think it's only Iowa that he's
Yeah.
crashed out of. So I mean,
Yep.
hell of a job all year.
Yeah,
I'm proud of the
absolutely.
boy.
And I was going to say Iowa. We don't want to talk about Iowa because that was a primary and a backup that got wasted there. But
Yeah, yeah,
Iowa's not an easy racetrack. It's really not. I mean, they fixed a lot of the bumps and a lot of the issues with that pavement, but you had a lot of transitions there from new pavement to old pavement, and I think that's probably a lot of what bit him. And then just inexperience with this car when it
yeah.
comes to transitions like that. That's an easy, really, really easy track for it to bite you. And you know, um, he came away and did learn things from that. So, and but yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like the only races where we have a DNF other than Iowa, I'm pretty sure are the super speedways. So
Yeah.
he's doing exactly what you would want, which is completing all the laps. And even that, like, I mean, I would venture to say that, you know, there's only so many races where he wasn't on the lead lap as well.
Yeah.
So that's saying something. Um, and how can you not just get better from there? And we've already seen that he's very adaptable. He, you know,
Darlington, the perfect example.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, and the guy gets faster and faster as you go. And Darlington, we as a team had a great race down there.
Yeah.
Um, you know, that was a you know some of the best that we've you know racing that we've done, and the fastest cars we brought to Darlington. Sub, you know, except for you know last year we won with Larson, but that's a whole nother thing because Larson's an alien. But you know that you know we brought some really fast cars, and Shane did really well there, and that's a again that's a really tough racetrack to get a hold of. So
Yeah.
um, I think, like I said earlier, going back to these racetracks, these 5 racetracks that he's been to before, is going to be really good for him. I think, like we discussed before we started recording here, Kansas he hasn't been to, but
Yeah.
you know, I think he's going to have a decent grasp of that, just because you know Las Vegas is somewhat of a similar racetrack, and then
Yeah.
you've got the other mile and a half racetracks that kind of you know lend themselves to being adaptable to this. And then Homestead's kind of its own thing,
Whole
but
animal. Yeah.
uh, you know it's a true oval, but it's you know has the progressive banking and such. But you know getting comfortable with running the wall, which did that a little bit at Darlington. So I think he'll be okay with that. And where these races fall also, as far as not cut off races and such, like I think it'll be okay. And then you've got, you know, the Roval coming up, which isn't a given. We talked about that this morning in our meeting, which, you know, just because we have the Roval in there where AJ is undefeated, um, I think you're going to have Connor Zillage in that race more than likely, which he's okay at Roval. You
It's
know,
pretty
I've
good, I
heard
guess.
good things. And then SVG obviously is going to be really, really good there. But I think this course change that they've made at the Roval, where if for anybody that doesn't know, like they have extended the straightaway after turn 5,
Yeah.
and kind of gave a deep kink, you could say, in turn 6, and then a really sharp hairpin corner, which would be turn 7, the old turn 8 that leads back
Yeah.
out onto oval
Yeah.
turn 1, and then also the chicane off of oval turn 4 that leads to the start finish line, that is deeper now.
Oh,
So they've
yeah.
actually
That's right.
moved the inside, that first right-hander, they've moved that curb out. So you actually have more, you're gonna have a longer braking zone, and, you know, kinda have to, take a wider arc on entry to have a better run, towards the start finish line. That right-hander is going to be a lot different as well. So, um, that tighter racetrack, where precision matters, is going to fall into someone like SVG's hands.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
but then again, also, you know, Connor Zilic, he knows a thing or two about those. and so does AJ. So I think the Roval, and the Roval, I believe, is a cutoff race too. So
Yeah,
I think that's going to be a very, very interesting round. But we also have some other guys in the field that are okay
pretty
at
good.
road courses too.
Yeah.
So
Um,
it should be fun.
so yeah, I mean, you touched on it there. I mean, was it fifth in playoff standings? He's plus
Mhm,
10 above the cut line.
mhm.
Um, I think round one with the Roval being there, that's obviously something not a given, but you guys have circled, and
Sure.
I think he'll run well enough at Kansas, and then what is it, Talladega? I
Yeah.
think just survive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'll be tough. But I mean, AJ is AJ knows how to drive a super speedway. We
yeah,
won we won at Talladega 2 years ago with AJ
yep,
there. And SVG, I mean, you look at Daytona Night Race in the Cup Series, he was running
yeah.
fourth, fifth whenever that motor blew.
Oh, and he
And
was running
and
fourth at Talladega in the
yeah,
Xfinity race before he ran out of gas.
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, he's not afraid to play when it
Yeah,
comes to the super speedway races. And just so we're clear that the reason the motor blew at Daytona was because of a bolt about that big that went through our radiator
we were
because
afraid
of
of
one of
that.
the
Yeah.
wrecks, and it pushed all the water out, and it was a what we call a catastrophic failure. uh, Whenever an engine doesn't have water to cool it down, um, things get hot
I
and
think
they tend to get stressed,
I think
and
I
they go boom big time.
I think that I think that's a technical term too. Boom, big time. Yeah.
Yeah, boom big time. Yeah,
Yeah. I think I put it as eloquently as I could and said it blew the f up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, but
Oh, I saw it afterward. There everything you couldn't see the gray of the chassis from the black of the burnt. Like it was like
God.
it was bad. It
Oh
was
no.
bad underneath.
All
But we
right.
found the bolt, so that's good.
Oh,
Yeah,
there we go. Finally put
I
it.
found it. Yeah.
Yeah. Put him. Put him in jail, like,
Yeah.
put him in Kaulig jail. You can 3D print, like, a little jail cell for that bolt for
Okay. Yeah.
Daytona.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I am working on parts now. So yeah.
Um, we were talking about this before we started recording. You see a
Mhm.
pathway to the Final Four for both Kaulig cars.
I do.
Um, explain that because I think there is definitely a pathway, but I'm curious to see what you think the best plan of action is for you guys going forward.
Easy. Don't give up. Don't quit.
Mhm.
Don't let these people get you down.
Yeah,
Don't, come to the racetrack and be aggressive and get done. That's the way to do it. Obviously, like I said, we got the Roval, which again, not a given, but chances are those two guys are going to run pretty strong there.
yeah,
Um, whatever the issues were at Watkins Glen with the 16, we get it figured out. I'm sure they've already got it figured out.
yeah,
Um, the 97 had a strong day at Watkins Glen. Um, but I think that Watkins Glen, I don't think is a true. Now, I'll say this: Watkins Glen is my favorite road course that we run. I
yeah,
love that racetrack. I love going there. It's so fast, but it's not a normal road course. Okay, because of the speed.
yeah,
Out Sonoma, a track like that where it's a lot more technical. Same thing with Portland. Same thing with Coda, where it is a lot more technical, a lot of high brake areas. The Roval, I believe, is going to be that for
yeah,
us this year because you have uh, an extra higher brake section and then a high brake section already that's been modified to make it even more of a high brake section.
yeah,
Talking about the chicane leading into
yeah,
the start finish line. Those kinds of racetracks is where those two guys excel. And I think that's something where a guy like Connor Zilich, who has ran race cars that are much, much lighter than what our cars are, I think that Watkins Glen kind of lays into his style maybe a little bit more because our cars are
Yeah.
heavier, less tire, less brake. He can let that car roll a little bit more. And we saw that whenever he uh, was laying off the gas to try to save fuel, he just got faster.
Yeah.
So you can't do that at a racetrack that has high braking. Really, you can, but it's not going to make as big a difference
It's not
as
as much as a flow as, maybe
yes, it's a
the
lot
Glen
less
would.
flow, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that Watkins Glen has for it is that is a very much a momentum flow racetrack, and I think that's the Roval is going to be where guys like AJ and SVG are going to excel more than Connor Zilic, but Connor Zilic is going to be very strong. Um, Now let's go to the next round, where you're going to have Las Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville. Uh, Homestead we haven't been to before this year, or SVG hasn't.
Yeah.
But Vegas he has been to before. Martinsville he's been to before. All of these racetracks, obviously AJ is going to be strong at. I think that I mean, really, if you look at AJ, he's been one of the more consistent drivers the whole season. Even
Yeah.
even on the bad days, the guy's still finishing top 10. Bristol, this past Friday wasn't the best night for him. I mean, listen to him on the radio, typical things going on, but the guy came back. He passed 16 or 17 cars in
Yeah.
that last green flag run and finished top 10. And, with 30 laps to go, he was saying that he's out of tire, but he
Yeah.
still kept off 2 cars behind him that were battling. So, he has the experience and the speed and the will to fight in order
Yeah.
to stay in the fight until we get to the final four. And then, AJ or SVG rather, I think that his aggressive nature when it comes down to the very end of this stuff, I think that's going to get him a long way. But the path is there, and
Yeah.
I 100% think it's attainable for both cars to be in the final four. Uh, there's a lot of things that are going to have to go right, obviously, but
Yeah.
I think with the experience gained with SVG this year and the comfort that he has or has gained, I think that's going to allow him to be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to these races and getting stage points and getting those things which
Yeah.
are going to move him along. You know, if he's take for instance Kansas, he goes out there, he's aggressive, he knows kind of the feel he wants in a mile and a half racetrack based off of like data from say Las Vegas or something. He goes in there and gains stage points, you know, uh, for this first round. It's going to help when it comes to places like Talladega, where it's a little bit less of a,
Yeah.
it's going to be more of a crapshoot, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and then you go to the Roval where you kind of hopefully have kind of a cushion,
Yeah.
right? You have the same kind of thing going on in the next round with Homestead, Vegas, going into Martinsville, where you kind of have almost a crapshoot, but high braking racetrack, very much a rhythm racetrack involved. So
I
I don't know.
think
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I think a key would be, I mean, if for either car, but if we're talking about Shane, is if you can win the Roval, that gives you 5 more points
Sure.
that will
Absolutely.
pad you into the next round. And I mean, he finished,
Yeah.
I think, seventh at Martinsville
Yeah.
in the spring, and we've
Yeah.
seen how good AJ is at Martinsville as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I know this is kind of what was that? An SVG focused thing. I can't help but talk about AJ, but
absolutely. Yeah,
um, you know, AJ's experience in these cars and as precise as he is and as good as he is and what he expects out of it, um, I think that um, he wants us to win as a company,
absolutely. Yeah,
more than he wants to win, I think. And I think that's going to be something that's going to drive him because, he's going to go full time in Cup next year. So this is his last, kind of opportunity for this foreseeable future to get into the Final Four in Xfinity and go after that championship. And I think he really wants to, just like we did, a couple years ago. Um, so SVG. I think that his aggressive style is really going to help him when it comes to places like Martinsville, and it comes down to who are you going to move on the last lap to make the transfer. I
Yeah.
think he moves somebody to do it. Now, based off of Richmond in the Cup race, there will they let you get away with that? That's to be
That's
seen.
yeah.
But I think as long as you don't drive through somebody, whatever. But I can't say that because we are it's one welcome. Um, but I, you know, I
I'll say it next week.
no, no, I'm not. No, I see. I was pulling for Austin Dillon in that whole deal.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to get into that. I want wins to come from Welcome. I want our
Absolutely.
team to do it.
Yep.
But in that situation, those two drivers that got wrecked coming to that checkered flag, I've seen them do it to way more people. So I side with I side with Austin Dillon on that one. But
Yeah.
uh, coming down to it, whenever it comes to Martinsville, I think SVG is the guy that you put in there and say, yeah, no, I'm making this transfer and you're not.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. So I I have no worry that he's going. I have him or AJ. I have zero worry that they're going to make it to the Final Four. I just
now, now
I don't
when
see a path where we don't make it. But
now when when both of them make it,
mhm.
who's
Yeah, no
walking
if
who
win. Yeah.
who's flying home from Phoenix with the trophy?
Oh boy.
Kaulig Racing is the correct answer.
Kaulig Racing
That's
is the
the
correct
company
answer.
answer.
That's the company answer.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, and I'm not gonna hold you
I
to
don't.
that. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold you to that, but
This is
give
where I'm
me
at with it.
give me
This is
where
where I'm at.
give me a pathway where one of them wins and the other one like, where both of them win. How do
Uh,
both of them win the championship?
well, we do have a fourth car that's going to Phoenix
Okay.
with Daniel Dye. Daniel Dye is going to be running that race, um, and he's going full time next year with us in the 10 car as we've announced.
Yeah.
Have we?
Yes. Yes, you
Very good.
have announced that.
Whew.
It's
That
okay.
was close.
I know how to
And
edit
then
that
also
much.
and Christian Eckes is going to be, driving a car, Eckes, whatever. It's going to be in 16. But man, the company answer is yeah, I want both of them in the final four and standing on pit road, just pat them on the back, like, let's go get it.
Yeah.
One of you, I don't care who, just bring it back. Just bring the
Yeah.
trophy back. So there's been enough other manufacturers winning these championships in Phoenix the past few years. There's been some Fords and Toyotas. I think it's time for Chevy to win it, and I want that Chevy to come from Welcome, North Carolina. So that's
Absolutely.
that's all I can say.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
yeah,
will I will at least point out that Shane did finish 6th at Phoenix in the spring, which will not be good enough, I don't think, to win a
no,
championship,
no,
but he's improved everywhere he's gone. So
absolutely,
he's
yeah,
gonna so,
yeah,
maybe
and
well,
again, you got to look at kind of driving style where if ever was an oval that could be misconstrued as a road course, there's two of them that come to mind: Pocono and Phoenix.
yeah.
Phoenix high braking, very much it plays right into a road course racer's hands. We've just got to bring a horse under both of those cars that's going to be fast enough to get us there in the very end. And I think that, like I said, these last 7 races, I think we're going to be bringing some aggressive stuff. I hope to the racetrack, and we're going to be running better than what we did earlier this year because we weren't out there just goofing off.
Yeah,
We were
out there grinding.
trying things. So we were trying things to be better. And I think, that was all a learning experience. And I think that we're going to be bringing a lot of speed for this playoff. So I'm
I th
excited about it.
I think one thing to kinda close out the Xfinity part is there weren't a bunch of torn up race cars this year, and
Yeah,
I mean, no
absolutely.
matter the size of the team, the less tore up race cars you have, the more data you have to make things
Absolutely.
better. So,
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
it's like what we said a while ago. It's like you can't learn anything if you don't complete all the laps. And to finish first, you must first finish.
yes.
So that's how you learn is completing all the laps. So he's done a phenomenal job of that this year, and I really think that going to these last 7 racetracks, like I said, 5 of those are going to be places he's been to before, or at least 7 of those are going to be places that he's been to something similar.
Yeah.
So if not the same racetrack. So um, I can't wait. I know I'm going to be at a few of them. So
All right.
I'll be at the Roval. I'll be at Martinsville. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope that there's a good party in Martinsville whenever we make it to the Final Four. I hope there's a good party at the Roval whenever we transfer into the round of 8. So with
There you
both of those
go.
cars. So
Well,
yeah,
I'll
well, yeah,
be
going to 2 cutoff races. That'll be fun.
I'll be at both of those too. So
Oh, good. Then
I'll have to.
we'll get together.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah,
Um.
I'm camping in Martinsville, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We might
Yeah.
might have to connect on that one.
Yeah, yeah. If you didn't
Um.
have a crummy wedding to go to, gosh, this Saturday we'll go to Martinsville with me
Yeah.
and watch the late model stock race.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
hot
still
dogs,
there's
boy.
it's what, Wednesday? I still got time. Um, we so Shane does have 2 more cup starts, unless there's something you're not telling me. No, I'm kidding. At Vegas and Martinsville later
Mhm.
this year. Um, one that's extra practice time, obviously not extra race time at those tracks,
Sure.
but I mean, that's just Vegas was already on the schedule
Mhm.
for him. Martinsville, talk about that. I mean, that was obviously added, I would imagine, a sponsorship deal. But how do you
I don't
think? Yeah, how do you think he'll adapt to a next gen car at one a mile and a half, and then two then a short track in Martinsville? Obviously, he's
well,
ran Charlotte earlier, but
right. There's nothing wrong with seat time
yeah,
on an oval. There's nothing wrong with getting extra seat time whenever you can. The unfortunate thing is with the place, at a place like Martinsville, there's not going to be much that's going to transfer other
yeah,
than feeling the racetrack and feeling all the little nuances and stuff in a racetrack. Which unless they have a bump in practice time at Martinsville, he's not going to get much out of it in a cup car. But the cup car is going to drive so much drastically different,
yeah,
unless they do something to you know fix the short track package
yeah.
between now and Martinsville with the cup car. You're going to have shifting in the corners. You're going to have much better braking than what you would have in an Xfinity car. Um, it's a lot more tire, in the cup car. So I don't foresee there being much help with that, other than like I said, feeling bumps and feeling little nuances in the racetrack. But all those things are helped with track walk a lot of times. Of course, then again, getting up to speed in a car is a whole lot different than walking the racetrack. But I always
Darn
get
it.
into walking the racetrack. So, but you know, now when it comes to Vegas, I believe you said is where
Yeah,
he'll be running again.
yeah,
Um, again, you're going to feel a lot of those bumps and nuances and stuff in the racetrack. You're going to feel what it does. How the track will progress and change over the course of a race, especially with a place like Vegas where it's going to be hot, it's going to be dry, going to be slick. That'll help, but when you only have 20 minutes of practice, it's not going to do much for you. I think that running the Xfinity race would be better for him to help him run the Cup car,
yeah.
because he's going to have that more track time on Saturday. Um, but again, more track time is never a bad
Never.
thing. I don't
Yeah,
think so,
absolutely.
especially when it's someone that's a road course guy.
Yeah.
But he's running enough ovals this year that I think we can kind of call him an oval guy almost. So
I think so. I mean, he's
yeah,
run almost as many, or by the end of the year, he'll almost have run as many Cup ovals as he did Cup road courses. But
sure, yeah,
let's close this out by talking about your newest coworker, old Ty
yeah.
Norris.
Ty Norris, yeah. Yeah, we had our first meeting with him today, and it was great, man. He's got a vision. He's got the guy's been around for a long, long time.
Yeah,
For anybody that doesn't know, I know this just because I know who he is.
Yeah.
He started out, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, um, doing working for like Philip Morris
Yeah.
and
Doing
working
PR
for
for
Winston
Winston.
and
Yeah.
PR for those guys. So he got into the sport via that connection. All
Yeah.
right. And then, Dale Earnhardt Sr., the man, came to him and said, I want to start a race team and I want you to do it. He's like, I want you to build it. So that's what he did. Ty Norris came in and helped Dale Earnhardt Sr. build DEI, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, and started out in their shop, the Deerhead shop as they called it, that was on
Yep.
the Earnhardt farm, and then they built what they called the Garage
Garage
Mahal
Mahal. Yeah.
right in front of it there on Highway 3. You can't miss it driving down through there. Which, if anybody doesn't know, they still race out of there. It's just they don't have a race team. They do everything but race out of that building. So they build a lot of parts for circle track racing. They do a lot of things. They have a machine shop in there that's still running. They build short track transmissions and parts and all kinds of stuff there. They have chassis dynos. They have all kinds of stuff that's still there, working, running every day of the week. They just don't race a team out of there.
We're gonna have to. We'll talk about that after
Just
this.
just
I
so
wanna.
just so
Yeah.
just yeah, it's called Earnhardt Technologies Group. Look into that.
Oh.
But anyway, so they built that place and they did pretty good. In case you didn't know,
All
Ty
right.
Norris left there at the beginning of 2004, and laid low, I guess, for a little bit, and then he helped start um, Michael Waltrip Racing whenever
Yeah.
Toyota was coming in, and helped them build all that stuff from the ground up. Built a race shop out of a movie theater, which
Yep.
is pretty interesting down in Cornelius. And then he did that stuff for a long time. And then whenever this whole track house thing come up, Justin Marks called him and said, "Hey, this is what I want to do. I want you to help build this." And I guess it'd be okay to say what he said earlier today. Um, Ty said that he was excited to come here because it was a place that already has a solid foundation,
Yeah.
and he's excited to build upon that foundation. And he's coming in as a business partner to take a lot of load off of Chris because Matt Kaulig. Um, I love Matt Kaulig because he loves racing,
Yeah.
and I love racing. Like I said to you before, I'm never more than one paycheck away from being a race fan myself. And Matt Kaulig is the massive race fan,
Yeah.
and he comes in and he does this stuff because he loves it. And people have said, for a long time is like, he's running out of money. He's going to be out, or they're selling their charters. Like, none of that's happening.
Yeah. Oh,
And if anything, we're doing nothing but building on top of what we have now. And I hope that bringing Ty Norris in will shut some of those people up, because he's coming in to help build this program upon the foundation that we have laid. And bringing in new partners and new money, and you know that's how you go faster in racing, is money. Money
money
helps
by.
buy
Yeah.
speed.
Yep. How
um
fast do you want to go?
yeah,
Yep.
how fast you want to go is directly equivalent to how much money you want to spend.
Yeah.
And Matt Collig, he can fund this stuff all he wants.
Yeah.
He's got the money to do it. But we bring in more partners, we bring in more money to where he doesn't have to fund
Exactly.
it for himself. And that's not saying that he's hurting for money, because he's not.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's more money from somewhere else. He can allocate more money to other places in order to build everything up.
Sure.
And you hit on something too. I mean, Ty Norris, obviously, like you said, he helped build DEI. He left DEI at arguably their peak.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Sent Dale Jr. off into a 6-win season,
sure.
including winning the Daytona 500.
Absolutely.
Brought
And
Michael Waltrip Racing from missing half the season with 3 cars to
mhm,
nearly winning a championship, and then doing the
yeah,
same thing with Trackhouse.
finish second. Yeah. And then yeah, same exact thing with Trackhouse, and brought that, in a first year organization.
Yeah.
Now you can say whatever you want to, that it was a lot of holdover from Ganassi or whatever, because it's true. There's a lot of people that came over from Ganassi that clocked out on a Friday from Chip Ganassi Racing and clocked in on a Monday to Trackhouse Racing and got a new set of
Yeah,
clothes. Like that. There's a lot of that happened, but you still have to have the proper people in place in order to
absolutely.
make that speed continue and to build. And then you could also say that it was first year for the next gen car, so everybody was on a more of a level playing field. But regardless, he helped build that into a winning organization day one.
You have to execute, and
You
the
have to
executing.
execute,
Yep,
and you have to have the proper people in place, and that's what he's good at doing. He's good at building those things. But the biggest thing is, he's good at building partnerships with folks. I mean,
absolutely.
he has an office here in North Carolina, but he works out in Nashville, so
Yeah.
that's where he lives, full time. So he said today that he got on a plane at 3:50 or he woke up at 3:50 this morning, got ready, got on a plane, and walked in the door as we were starting our meeting, pretty much. So
Yeah.
this morning at 10 o'clock. So I'm really really excited about it. I've been a Ty Norris fan for many years because of what he's been able to do and build and help people build. And his attitude, the way he goes about things, his business mindset. I've been a fan of his for years, and for whenever they told us that news last week that he was coming on board, I was really excited about it.
Yeah,
I was really really stoked because that's nothing but good things for Kaulig racing, and um, it's on my chest here. So I want good things for Kaulig racing. So
I
I
think,
man, I couldn't be more excited about what he's going to bring to the table, and also what he's going to be able to take off of Chris's shoulders.
yeah,
Like I texted you, or I was telling you before, like whenever I walked into the racetrack at Bristol, I saw Chris standing down there watching SVG go out for qualifying. I took a picture of him and I sent it to Chris, and he's like, "Gosh, my posture is bad, or whatever." And I was like, "It's all that weight on your shoulders, bud."
yeah.
So
Post
like, that's what Ty Norris is coming in to do, is to help take some of that weight off of Chris, so
and
he's not
fix
the
Chris
one.
Rice's posture.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yes. He's going to take some of that load off of Chris and help him to be team president again,
Yeah,
rather than being the guy that's going out there and making all these sponsorship deals and trying to bring in all these partners and people. Ty is going to be able to take over some of that. So it's going to be a great thing for everybody involved to have him there. And I left work at 5:30 today and walked out the door, and I looked down the hill to the cup shop, and Ty Norris was walking out at the same time.
yeah.
He was there all day long.
So,
He was behind me whenever I pulled out on the road. So,
yeah,
he's heading back to Nashville or whatever. So, he was there just as long as everybody else today.
I
So, I
and
respect that.
correct me if I'm wrong. Kaulig, they started out as just an Xfinity team,
Mhm.
and it was Chris Rice and Matt Kaulig, and now 4 Xfinity teams sometimes, and 2 Cup teams, and it's still Chris Rice and Matt Kaulig leading the
Sure.
ship. So I mean that if that doesn't say anything to how big of an impact it's
Yeah.
going to be, it's you know, eh,
Well, we've got a lot of people that in
absolutely,
Ohio, in Hudson, Ohio, which is actually Action Industry is from up there as well. So in Hudson, Ohio, is where Colleague Companies is based. That's where Leaf Filter is based at. That's where Leaf Home is based at. That's where Matt Colleague is from.
yeah.
He was a quarterback at Akron State. Just up the
Oh wow,
road.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, yeah, he was a quarterback at Akron State in Ohio with the number 11. So if you wonder why
Ah,
we have number 11 on our
all
cars, there
right,
you go. You need to come to the Xfinity shop one time. I'll show you around. We actually have
yeah.
Matt's jerseys hanging up on the wall as soon as you walk into the shop. So
I'll definitely have
that's
to
where
do
the
that. Yeah,
yeah, come on by. But so that's where the number 11 comes from. And then obviously Leaf Filter was a company that he started out of his garage and built it up to a $2 billion a year company. And
oh yeah,
he's still on the board, I believe, for that. And then I believe he sold his ownership stake in that, but or at least the majority ownership stake to it. I'm not sure of all the specifics, but
yeah,
from what Chris has told us, he is He has ownership stake in 51 different businesses with colleague companies, and um, you know, the guy came to a racetrack, and somebody talked to him about sponsoring a race car, and it was Blake Cook several years ago in a number 14 car. I think it was for TriStar
Yeah.
back in 2016, 2017, around in there,
Mhm.
and came to the racetrack, and didn't do the greatest, and he was like, "Oh, this is awesome! I love this. This is fun.
Yeah.
Love the hell out of it." So he wanted to keep doing it, and so he sponsored a couple more races, and then he finally just said, "Chris was like, why don't we just start a team? How much would that cost?" And next thing you know, here they go. And Chris goes and talks to Mike Dillon, who was the father of Ty Dillon, Austin Dillon, um, who is Richard Childress' son-in-law. Talk to him, say, "Hey, this is what we want to do. How much is this going to cost?" And they started out with that, and they started with a one-car team, and then gradually just started building and building from there. And now, uh, on a given weekend, we could have 7 race cars pulling out of the race shop to go to the racetrack.
Mhm.
4 Xfinity cars and 3 Cup cars, on a part-time basis, the
Yeah,
extra 2
absolutely.
cars.
Yeah.
You walk, through our race shop now, um, and our Cup shop that's, 3 times the size of our Xfinity shop,
Yeah.
and you walk out behind that with a new awning and stuff that we have built, and you see 6 haulers down through there.
Yeah.
And it's incredible, and, and what is it? Matt says, whenever he comes through the shop, he's like, "I got a lot of stuff. I just got a lot of stuff that we have." Right. So, but yeah, like I said, he's loved it from day one, and he wants to win races. That's it. He wants to win races, hang banners, get trophies, and have fun, and that's why, Kaulig Racing has always been the fun team, it seems like, and that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to work for this team. And, while we're talking about the Final Four, that is why I wanted to work for this team.
Mhm.
I was there at Martinsville when they made the Final Four with AJ, and
This
then I was
is
watching on
2021, right?
2021. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was at Roush Fenway at the time, fabricating, knowing that I was going to be losing my job because of working in the body fab department. With this next gen car coming,
Mhm.
it's all bolt together stuff, so there's not a lot of fabrication going on. So I needed a job, and I was watching the coverage of the Xfinity race that night in Phoenix, and AJ finished third, fourth, whatever it was, and but it looked like all those people were still having fun.
Yeah.
Even in defeat, they were still having fun. And you could see the passion that AJ had about it. And I was always, like I said, the last time we talked, it was a big AJ fan because of his passion. I never saw uh, his radio the way he is on the radio. I never saw that as bad. I saw that as a passionate person, because
Absolutely.
I'm an extremely passionate person when it comes to this stuff. It was 3 hours after that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to shoot an email off to this team and be like, and
Yeah.
see if they have any openings. And that's exactly what I did. And Monday morning, I had got an email back, and Tuesday afternoon, I was interviewing, and by the end of that week, I was hired. So, and all because of what I saw from that team, and looking like they were enjoying what they're doing, even in defeat. And that's where I wanted to be. Um, and it's been the best 3 years for me in my career in racing. I've absolutely loved every moment of working for that. That broke. Um, uh, Loved every moment of working for that race team. Now it's frustrating sometimes, but um, I thoroughly enjoy the people I work with and what I do. So I couldn't ask for better. I don't want to work for anybody else.
That and I mean, look, hearing that, I mean, if that doesn't get you fired up to go try to win a championship, then I don't know
Damn
what
right.
does.
Yeah.
I mean, you echo the words that I think everybody, all the words that everybody associated with Colleague: fun,
Mm.
passionate, all of that good stuff. I mean, it's why Colleague is such a popular team in the sport, and obviously,
Yeah.
I have some vested stake being your friend, and then also wanting SVG to do well,
Sure.
and you also want to see
Couldn't tell
the
by the shirt, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You also want the good people in the sport to and people like Matt Kaulig who put so much into it to get the
Mhm.
fruits of their labor. So,
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, with that, I think that's all we got, man. I think
Yeah.
that is thank you so much for this.
Absolutely.
As
Yeah.
of I mean, every time, both times I've brought you on, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I know I've gotten
Aw.
a lot. I mean, no, seriously. I know I get a lot out of this, and I just hope that everybody that's watching at home also gets even more out of it too. And we'll bring you
I hope
back too.
so.
We'll bring you back after you guys won a championship, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But
Yeah, yeah.
we uh I'm excited about it. Like I said, we've got AJ with just his ton of experience in in these cars and in NASCAR period, and we have SVG, who one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. It always looks like he's having a good time, even in defeat. He's still smiling. You got to love that. You got to love that attitude, and then you got to love his aggression and his willingness to learn and put a car where some people won't. A lot of times, but I'm excited for it, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I enjoy it,
Hey,
and hello to all the folks on the other side of the globe as
yeah,
well,
yeah,
all of the folks down under. Thanks for supporting Shane and in turn supporting our race team.
absolutely.
We all appreciate it, and we all love having you aboard. And we put the New Zealand flag on over his door every single weekend. So that's for you guys.
That's that's awesome. That's a great way to close it out too.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody at home for watching. I will have a bandwagoner's guide to the Xfinity playoffs coming out later on this week, and we will see you next week after Kansas.